The first time Maya saved my life, I never saw her face. I only heard her voice low, steady, impossibly calm, telling me to breathe while I was folded on my bathroom floor, certain I was dying. By the time the ambulance came, she was already gone, just a click on the other end of a line. But her voice stayed. It moved into my chest and refused to leave. And that is the strange, humiliating truth nobody warns you about. You can fall in love with someone you have never seen, someone who has memorized the sound of your panic before she ever knew your name. Let me back up. My name is June, and I make a podcast for people who can't sleep. It's called The Ones Who Stay. Every week I find a stranger, a night shift nurse, a bus driver, a man who fixes church organs, and I let them talk until the ordinary parts of their life start to sound like the most important story ever told. I have about 4,000 listeners. Most of them are lonely at 2 a.m., same as me. I record in a closet in my apartment in Portland, Oregon, wrapped in blankets to kill the echo. And I tell other people's stories beautifully because I have absolutely no idea how to live my own. Here is what I mean by that. That first night, it was February, and the rain was doing the thing Portland rain does where it stops being weather and becomes a mood. I'd been recording for 11 hours straight, which meant I had forgotten to eat, which I would learn is a recurring theme in the tragedy of my life. I stood up to get water, and the room tilted. My vision went to static. My heart started slamming like it was trying to break a window and climb out. I thought, this is it. This is how the girl who narrates other people's lives dies. Alone, in a closet, wearing a shirt that says I narrate other people's lives. I bought that shirt as a joke. The universe, it turns out, has no sense of humor about irony. I called 911 because I genuinely believed I was having a heart attack. I wasn't. It was a panic attack layered on top of a blood sugar crash, which is the least glamorous medical emergency a person can have. But I didn't know that yet. All I knew was the terror, and then a voice came through the phone. "Okay," she said. "I've got you. Tell me your name." "June," I gasped. "June. I'm Maya. I'm not going anywhere. Help is already moving toward you. Right now, all you have to do is breathe with me. Can you do that?" I couldn't. I told her I couldn't. "Yes, you can," she said, and there was no doubt in it. None. "You've been breathing your whole life. You're an expert. In through your nose, slow, I'm counting. 1, 2, 3. I breathed because she told me to. Because her voice had this quality, like a hand pressed flat against your back, holding you upright. She stayed on the line for 9 minutes. She asked me what I did. I told her about the podcast, in broken little pieces between breaths, and she said, "So you're a professional listener?" And I said, "I guess." And she said, "Then let someone listen to you for once." I started crying, not from fear, from that. When the paramedics came through my door, she said, "They've got you now, June. You did great. You did really great." And then the line went dead, and she was gone, and I sat on my floor with 2 strangers taking my blood pressure, and I already missed a woman I had never seen. I told myself I'd forget her by morning. I did not forget her by morning. 3 weeks later, the universe decided I was funny, and it wanted to keep the bit going. It was one of those thick March nights, and I'd bought a bag of loose herbal tea from a shop on Hawthorne. Some blend an influencer swore would fix my sleep, my skin, and presumably my personality. I did not read that one of the herbs interacts badly with the medication I take. Within 20 minutes of drinking it, my lips went numb, my throat felt 2 sizes too small, and my hands broke out in hives like I'd hugged a nettle. I called 911, and I swear to you, before the operator even spoke, some animal part of me was praying. 911, what's your emergency? It was her. I knew it in 1 syllable. "I think I'm having an allergic reaction," I said. "My throat. I've been here before. February. You told me to breathe. You said your name was Maya." There was a pause. A small, human pause that a good dispatcher isn't supposed to take. "June," she said. "You remember me. You're the podcaster." Something shifted in her voice, a crack of warmth through the professional glass. "June. Okay. Listen to me. Do you have an EpiPen or antihistamine in the apartment?" She talked me through it. She stayed until the crew arrived, exactly like before. But right at the end, just before she handed me off, she said something she wasn't supposed to say. "June, 2 calls in 3 weeks. You have to start taking better care of yourself. There's not always going to be someone on the other end who—" She stopped. "Who what?" I whispered. "Who picks up in time," she said. And then softer, almost to herself, "Be careful, please." The line went dead. I lay on my couch with a paramedic shining a light in my eyes, and all I could think was, she remembered my name. Out of all the voices that scream into her headset every night, all the worst moments of 100 strangers, she had kept mine. I did the only thing I know how to do with a feeling too big to hold. I made a podcast episode about her. I didn't use her name. I called her the voice on the other end. I recorded it in my closet at 3 a.m., and I said things I'd never have said to her face, that there are people in this world whose whole job is to be calm inside other people's worst nights, and that nobody ever calls them back to say thank you, and that I had fallen a little in love with a woman I would probably never meet. And wasn't that the loneliest and most beautiful thing? I posted it. 4,000 people heard it. I figured she would never be one of them. I was wrong about that too, but I didn't know it yet. Then came April, and the fall. The light bulb in my stairwell had been dead for a week, and my landlord communicated exclusively in shrugs. So I climbed the stairs in the dark, one hand on the rail, and I misjudged the last 3 steps entirely. I went down hard. My head hit the edge of the bottom stair and the world flickered. I remember lying there thinking, absurdly, Maya is going to be so disappointed in me, as if she were someone who had any right to be disappointed, as if we were anything at all. I fumbled my phone out with a shaking hand and called. 911. What's your... Maya. My voice was thick, wrong. It's June. I fell. I hit my head. I can't, the room won't hold still. June. All the calm snapped into place, but underneath it I heard something new fear, the personal kind. Don't move. Don't you move. Are you bleeding? I don't know. Stay awake for me. Talk to me. Tell me about your podcast. Tell me who you interviewed this week. I don't remember much of what I said. I remember she wouldn't let me stop talking, because she knew that if I stopped talking, I might stop being awake. She kept me tethered to the earth with nothing but her voice for 11 minutes. And then she said something that changed everything. June, I need you to stay with me, okay? I already lost. She caught herself. Hard. I don't lose the ones I can keep. You understand me? Not tonight. Not you. I already lost. I filed those 3 words away in the part of my brain that never lets anything go. When the paramedics loaded me onto the stretcher, I heard her say, quieter than protocol, quieter than she meant to, "You're going to be all right, June." Not a fact she was reading off a screen, a prayer. I got 4 staples in my scalp, and a concussion, and strict instructions to rest. I did not rest. I lay in the dark with an ice pack, and thought about a woman who had lost someone she couldn't keep, and who now, for reasons I couldn't explain, seemed terrified of losing me. I have to tell you what I did next, even though it doesn't make me look good. I found her. Not on purpose, or not entirely. My concussion made screens unbearable, so I couldn't work, but I could listen. And I remembered that our city's dispatch center runs a volunteer appreciation night, open to the public, a little thing at a community hall, where they hand out certificates to the people who spend their nights holding strangers together over the phone. I'd covered it 2 years ago, before I ever needed one of them. I went. I told myself it was research. I stood at the back in a room of folding chairs and lukewarm coffee, and I listened to a supervisor read names, and when he said Maya Okafor, 11 years on the line, a woman stood up. And I understood, finally, the thing about seeing a voice made flesh. She was tall. She had the kind of stillness that people mistake for coldness, until they realize it's just what steadiness looks like when it's been earned the hard way. Short dark hair, tired, watchful eyes. She accepted the certificate without a smile, the way a person accepts something they don't feel they deserve, and she sat back down fast, like she wanted to disappear. I didn't go up to her. I couldn't. What would I even say hi? I'm the disaster you've talked off the floor 3 times. Also, I made a podcast about being in love with your voice? No. I left before the cookies. But on my way out, in the parking lot, under a sky doing its usual Portland drizzle, I heard the door open behind me. You're June. I turned around. She was standing there with the certificate rolled up in one fist, like she didn't know what to do with it. I recognized your voice, she said. The second you said, "Excuse me," to the guy blocking the door. 11 years. You stop forgetting faces. You never forget a voice. My heart was doing the window slamming thing again, but this time it wasn't fear. I recognized yours in one word, I said. February. Okay, I've got you. Something moved across her face. Something she'd been holding down for a long time. Why are you here? She asked. Not unkind, just lost. Because you saved my life 3 times? I said, and I have never once said thank you, and I couldn't stand it anymore. She looked at me for a long moment. The rain sat in the streetlight like static. Buy me a coffee, she said finally. There's a place across the bridge that's open all night, for people like us. People like us? People who are awake when everyone else is sleeping. Here is where I should tell you it got easy. It did not get easy. We had coffee. And then we had coffee again, a week later, and again after that. She told me about the job in fragments, how you learn to hear a heart attack in the space between someone's words, how you talk a stranger through CPR on their own father, and then take the next call 30 seconds later like nothing happened. How you go home at dawn and can't explain your night to anyone who wasn't in it. I told her about the podcast, about how I collect other people's stories, because my own always felt too small and too messy to be worth telling. That's not why, she said. Excuse me? You don't tell your own story because if you tell it, someone might actually see you, and then they might leave. Easier to be the one holding the microphone. I didn't answer, because she was completely right and I hated her a little for it. But she pulled back, too. Every time we got close to something real, she'd go flat and careful, the professional glass sliding up over her face. One night I finally asked, Maya, on the stairs, you said I already lost and you stopped. Lost who? The coffee shop was empty except for us and a kid mopping the floor. She turned her cup in her hands for a long time. 3 years ago, she said. I took a call. Young woman, alone, same as you. Overdose accidental. She'd mixed the wrong things. She didn't even know what she'd done. I stayed with her. I did everything right. I talked to her. I kept her with me. I dispatched the crew. She swallowed. There was an accident on the interstate. It rerouted everything. The ambulance was 11 minutes late. 11 minutes. And I sat there with my headset on and I heard her voice get slower. And then it got quiet. And then there was just the sound of the phone lying on the floor. She wasn't crying. It was worse than crying. It was the flatness of a wound that never fully closed. I hear her every February, she said. I don't even know her face. I just have her voice. So when you called me in February, June, the same month, a girl alone on a floor telling me she couldn't breathe, do you understand what that did to me? I have spent 3 years trying not to care whether the people on my line live or die, because caring is what almost broke me. And then you showed up. 3 times. And I cared so much I could barely read my own screen. I reached across the table and I took her hand. She let me. You didn't fail her, I said. The road failed her. The 11 minutes failed her. You stayed. That's the whole thing, Maya. You stayed. It wasn't enough. It was everything, I said. I know because I've been on the other end of it. When you stay, the person on the floor isn't alone. Do you have any idea what that's worth? She pulled her hand back. Not cruelly, but she pulled it back, and she said she had an early shift, and she left me sitting there with 2 cold coffees, and I understood that I had gotten too close to the thing she couldn't look at, and that she was going to run from it, because that's what people do when someone finally reaches the wound. She went quiet for 3 weeks. I texted twice. I got nothing back. I told myself I'd invented all of it, that a woman who spends her whole life being calm for strangers had simply been calm for me, and I'd mistaken kindness for something more. I stopped making episodes. For the first time in 4 years, my closet stayed dark. And then, on a gray Tuesday in May, my phone buzzed. Not a call, a text. Are you home? I typed yes so fast I made 3 typos. 20 minutes later, she was at my door, out of uniform for the first time jeans, a soft gray sweater, her hands shoved in her pockets. She looked like she hadn't slept. She was holding something against her chest. Can I come in? She said. I stepped back and let her in. She stood in the middle of my tiny living room, looked at the closet where I record, looked at everything except me. And then she held out what she'd been carrying. It was a stack of paper, call logs. Dispatch sheets, printed out, The kind of thing they're not supposed to take home. I kept yours, she said. All 3. I took them with shaking hands. February. March. April. My name, my address, the times, the codes, the clinical shorthand of the worst nights of my year. But in the margins, in small, careful handwriting, there were notes. Notes that don't belong on a dispatch sheet. Next to February, voice steadied when I counted. Said she narrates other people's lives. Wanted to keep talking to her. Didn't. Next to March, recognized her before she said her name. Told her to be careful. Meant it more than protocol. Next to April. Almost said too much. She heard it anyway. She hears everything. That's the problem with her. And at the bottom of the last page, dated 3 weeks ago the night she'd walked out of the coffee shop, she said you stayed. That's the whole thing. Been trying to unhear it for 21 days. Can't. I looked up. She was watching me read, and her whole careful face had come apart. There's one more thing, she said. And then you can throw me out if you want. She took her phone out. She pressed play. It was my voice. My episode. The voice on the other end, the one I never thought she'd hear. My sister sent it to me in March, she said. She listens to your podcast. She had no idea it was about me. How could she? She just said, this one made me cry. You'd like it. Maya's voice broke on the next part. I've listened to it 40 times. A woman I'd talked off a floor twice, telling 4,000 strangers she'd fallen a little in love with a voice she'd never see. And I sat in my car in the parking garage after a 14-hour shift, and I cried, June, because for 3 years I'd told myself the voice on my line couldn't matter to anyone, and there you were, telling the whole world it mattered to you. I couldn't speak. I have built an entire career out of words, and I did not have a single one. We found each other backwards, she said. You fell for a voice with no face. I fell for a face I'd been hearing for months without knowing it was yours. 2 people talking past each other in the dark for months, and neither of us knew the other one was listening. Why did you leave? I finally managed. At the coffee shop. Why did you run? Because you told me I stayed, she said. And no one has ever told me that, and made me believe it. And believing it meant I had to stop hiding, and I was terrified. I'm still terrified. She stepped closer. But I'm more terrified of another February where I don't pick up in time and it's you. And then Maya, who had spent 11 years being calm for everyone, who had never once let herself need anything back, put her hand against the side of my face, and she wasn't calm at all. Her hand was shaking. Say something, she whispered. You're the professional listener. I need you to hear this one. I hear you, I said. I've heard you since February. I kissed her. She tasted like coffee and rain and 11 years of holding strangers together with nothing but her voice. When we pulled apart, her forehead came to rest against mine, and for once, neither of us was on the phone. There was no line to go dead. There was just the 2 of us, in a small, quiet room, finally in the same place at the same time. That was 2 months ago. It's July now, and Maya is asleep on my couch because she worked a night shift, and I'm recording in my closet with the door cracked so I can see her. She snores, very slightly, and I have decided it is the best sound my microphone has ever failed to capture. She taught me to keep glucose tabs in every room. I taught her that it's okay to feel the calls after they end, that she doesn't have to carry them alone at dawn anymore. She still hears the girl from 3 years ago every February, but now, when February comes, she won't hear her alone. People ask me why I stopped interviewing strangers for a while. The truth is, I finally had a story of my own. I wasn't too scared to tell. The girl who narrates other people's lives fell in love with the voice on the other end of the line, and it turned out the voice had been quietly listening to her all along. 2 lines running through the same dark night, never touching, until the one night they finally did. Maya stirs on the couch and cracks one eye open. Are you recording me? Never, I lie. You're telling them about us. Maybe. She smiles, the real one, the rare one, the one she gives me now like it costs her nothing at all. Tell them the ending's good, she says, and closes her eyes again. It is. For the first time in my life, the person on the floor wasn't alone, and neither was the person on the line. We heard each other in the dark, and then we stayed. That's the whole thing. That was always the whole thing.